Right, guys, I think we're about 6:30, aren't we? Right. Thank you for attending this hybrid meeting of Chorley Liaison. For those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Gordon France. I'm the chair of the committee, and my colleague, Councillor Kim Snape, is the vice chair. Also present at Town Hall are officers. As this is an hybrid meeting, members are also present in the council chamber and on Microsoft Teams. If you're in the council chamber and wish to speak, please indicate, and once I've brought you in, you will need to activate your microphone by pressing the button under your name. For those of you on Teams, please remain muted. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function. I will then bring you in at an appropriate time. And can you unmute? The meeting is also being live streamed on YouTube. Right. Unfortunately, a little bit of sad news that we've had the passing away of Councillor Almond, who was chair of Astley Village Parish Council, and also Tony Hartness, who was the clerk for Brindle and also Horton Parish Council. And I believe he was the clerk at Brindle for over 40 years. So just sort of acknowledge those two people. Thank you. Apologies, Coral.
I've had no apologies, Chair.
No apologies. Right. Has everybody had the opportunity to look at the minutes of the last meeting? They're in front of me for approval. Are there any issues to raise on accuracy of the minutes? And I think Councillor Cornwall's, did you raise one? Was he not on or something, Coral?
Yes, Chair, there seems to be an intermittent issue on one of my templates on Muggle, but I'll rectify that tomorrow to reflect your attendance, Councillor Cornwall.
Thank you. Thank you. So the recommendation is that minutes of the meeting be approved. Anybody against that? No. We're going for approval, right. Voter ID presentation. Please can I welcome Catherine Philbin to the meeting to give a short talk on voter ID and to take questions. Thank you for attending, Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. I've just come today just to explain a bit about voter ID, which hopefully you will be aware of. It's come in following the Elections Act 2022, which was introduced last year, where voter ID and a number of other changes to the election process have been included in the legislation. But obviously, the one that we're concentrating tonight on is the voter ID. Everybody who goes to a polling station who will be voting with a ballot paper at the polling station will need ID. And there is a long list of what's acceptable. And I've got A3 copies here and some A5 copies, which please take as many as you want. That's no problem. So, yeah, it doesn't matter as well if the ID is expired, as long as the photograph reflects the voter. And it's still a good likeness. If the photograph doesn't look like the voter, they will be asked to go back and get something, some ID that does look like them. There's a few things that some people are concerned about the names might not be different, might be a little bit different. So if the name on your ID doesn't include your middle name, but on the register it does, don't worry about it, it's fine. If you change your name since you were on the register, as long as you can bring additional proof of the reason why you've changed your name, that will be accepted as well. You might be asked questions about it, but it should be accepted. Also, for those people who don't have any of the qualifying ID, they can apply for a voter authority certificate or a temporary voter authority certificate. Now, the voter authority certificates are something that we do online, that a voter can do online themselves, or if they're struggling or don't have access to the internet, they can come in person to the town hall and we can sort it out for them. If they come in person, we'll basically do it for them online. They'll get the voter certificate through the post, unless they've made other arrangements. but there's got to be a special reason why you want to pick it up from the town hall rather than through the post. And we'll take the photograph and everything, so that's not a problem. The voter IDs usually the voter authority certificates usually take about 2 or 3 days to process, so you should get them relatively quickly. The deadline to apply for a voter ID is the same deadline as the applying for a new proxy. So that's the 25th of April. For anybody who has an election timetable, it is on that election timetable. So it's 5 p.m. on the 25th of April. Now, if somebody applies for a voter authority certificate by that deadline, if we think they're not going to get one in time through the post, we can issue a temporary voter authority certificate. So that will be done by yourselves in the office, and we would just ask you to come and collect that, because we don't, if we think you're not going to receive that in time. Because there's still, with the voter authority certificates, there are some checks that need to be done. So if, for instance, we've rejected the photograph, but it's gone past the deadline, because you've applied before the deadline, you're still entitled to get a voter authority certificate. But depending on when you come back to us, it could be quite late. So if it's, for instance, if it's a couple of days before the election itself, and we just confirm your photograph's okay, we might just issue you with a temporary voter authority certificate. That's valid for 1 year only, for that election only, sorry. The usual voter authority certificates have no expiry date, but they recommend change it every 10 years. I think they're trying to make it in line with passports. But like I say, it doesn't have to be in date, as long as the photograph looks like you. For those people who don't get the voter authority certificate in on time, they can apply for a proxy. Emergency proxy. Yeah, so that can only be, an emergency proxy can only be issued after the deadline for applying for a proxy. So that's 5 p.m. on the 25th of April. So if you suddenly find your ID that you were going to use, it's potentially you've sent it away for some reason and it's not come back, you could ring us and say, I haven't got that, I haven't got my ID back, can I have an emergency proxy? That is acceptable, we can sort that out for you. So we don't want to disenfranchise anybody. We want to do as much as we can to encourage people to vote. Now, I'm here really to plead with parish councils to get the word out about the voter authority certificate, about the voter ID. If someone turns up at a polling station without any form of photographic ID, they will be turned away. But they can come back with the voter ID. It's fine. It's not a case of, right, you haven't got it now, so you'll have to go. It's a case of, I'm sorry, we can't give you the ballot paper now, but if you want to come back with some valid ID, we can give you the ballot paper then. So as long as they do that, that's fine, they'll still be able to vote. Obviously, there's a concern there that someone may come to the polling station without the ID and they don't come back, or they can't come back for any reason. This is why it's really important that we try and get the message out, because we can't issue a ballot paper if someone doesn't have a voter ID. And it's the same as well if it's the presiding officers there and somebody, as they know for years and years and years, comes in without ID, if they will be turned away. It doesn't matter. You have to have photographic ID, qualified photographic ID, to be able to get a ballot paper. So please, I just want the message to get out there into your parishes, explaining stressing the importance of this. We are doing some social media, and we're also getting some leaflets printed, and we've got these here now, which you can, like I say, you can have them, and if you want more, I can give you more. And if there's anything you want me to do to help your parish to be better informed, please just say, and I'll do that. but we really do need to get that message out to people about they must bring photographic ID. I think that's it.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll take questions, but can I just make a comment first? A couple of the clerks to the parish councils in my area, particularly Withnell, which I'm a member of, has actually asked for this and are going to put it in their notice boards. So I would think that is, you know, the A4 card with potentially telling you what forms of ID will be acceptable to go in parish councils' notice boards. Possibly a good idea, to maybe something to think about for your own parishes. Any questions for Catherine? Ian?
Yeah, I've heard what you said about all the requirements for voting. My concern is with the staff at the polling station and the position you're putting them into if anyone should start to debate the legality and the requirements of it. Has anything been done to help protect the staff more? And just to add to that, what's the sort of legal position with the staff being able to refuse someone a vote on the basis of not being able to have an identifiable photo ID?
In our polling station training that is mandatory for all polling station staff, they are going to go through training specifically on voter ID and what to look for and what can be acceptable and what can't. I'm obviously as concerned as yourself for the staff in the polling stations. So as well as the training, there is methods on how to sort of alleviate sort of conditions where it could deteriorate for them. Only the presiding officer can refuse a ballot paper, given a ballot paper, so the poll clerk can't. If the poll clerk doesn't think the ID looks like them, they have to refer it to the presiding officer, and it's only the presiding officer who can refuse it. Now, what we are introducing this year is something called modern polling, and it's bringing technology into the polling station. And what I'm saying to staff is the technology it will help the presiding officer and poll clerk do the job, basically, and it will take them through the voter ID process as well. And if it says you can't give them a ballot paper, I'm going to say to the polling station staff as an assistance and something that might alleviate any issues is the fact that we have to go through this process on a year before I can issue the ballot paper. So I'm sorry, I can't issue it. Now, obviously, that's not going to stop people from getting cross, or we're just trying to tell them just to try and keep as calm as possible and let us know if there's any problems. They're told to ring the police straight away, and then they can ring us. We can come out. We've also got polling station inspectors who we can contact. They're members of the senior team at Chorley, and they'll go out and they'll try and calm matters down.
Alistair?
Thank you, Chair. I'll come on to that point you made then in a moment. Number one is this council aren't supportive of this at all. This is a government policy that's been brought in the teeth of opposition from councils and many politicians and the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission had their AGM in Chorley just a few weeks ago, and they're not in favour of it because this is, as Catherine said, part of the act put through by the current government, who believe this is a big problem. It's a localised problem in localised areas from all the evidence, but it's applied to the whole country. We think it's anti-democratic because it's a way of deterring people from voting. We have the problem in Chorley of not enough people taking part in elections, not people trying to vote several times in different places, in different names. That's not the problem we have. So nobody wants it, the Electoral Commission don't want it, but the government have forced it through, so we have to do it, as Catherine said. There's a legal process to go through, which says about the verification, and we can't sidestep that, even if we would want to. We've also asked the police what their awareness is of this. I'm not suggesting they'll be rioting on the streets of Chorley because people can't vote for Councillor Berry or Gordon Francis or any other candidate, but people will rightly get very frustrated if they're not aware of it, and therefore awareness is the big thing, and a lot of the political parties are advertising the fact. In terms of how it will affect people, I think it'll affect everybody equally. It's just another reason for people to have an excuse not to vote, in my own personal opinion. So we are trying to put support around the staff in the stations so they can get a quick response for an issue. The police are aware of it locally. They've pledged to support it. They're being encouraged to do so. But I think it's all very unnecessary and could have been avoided by dealing with the actual people who are the problem, not dealing with the whole community on this. But, you know, we can all have a discussion about how you should vote and accessibility of voting and all the rest of it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alistair. John, you just
Chair.
joined. We're talking about voter ID. So if you've any queries, Catherine, just taking questions now.
Chair, can I just let you know that
Yes, certainly. Terry, in a minute.
Councillor,
Go on, John.
Sorry, I'm on the governors of Buckshaw. They've been Ofsted over the last 2 days. We were told that it's got...
Oh, your microphone, yeah, just press the button.
That one's not got a battery in it.
Oh.
It's the other one.
Oh, just try the other one. Try just the one further round. Sorry, John.
The feedback should have been 5:15 till 5:30. They didn't start till 5:45, and it finished at 6:30. So I'm sorry I'm late.
Right.
Yeah, on the voter ID, we're doing each one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
There were actually 6 people who were done for misconduct at the last general election for voter ID 6.
In the whole country.
In the whole country. So as you say, it wasn't a high priority, but there you go. We're not the government, are we? So I apologise for being late again.
Terry, did you want to come in?
just wanted to let you know I'm here. It's taken me ages to get on.
Right, that's okay. I've got some forms here if, you know, with what's needed for voter ID, if you want some at Wilton, sorry.
Yes, please.
Right, thank you. Right, Graham.
Is it possible to make this publicly known, to send out a separate piece of paper in the voting papers saying what you have to do? It's all right, us sat here, we know about it. But Joe Bloggs sat in whatever street, and he gets there, ambles along after he's been in pub, and he said, "What's this?" I don't know.
Yeah, on the poll cards that are going out, you'll notice they'll start going out from Friday, because that's when the notice of election is going to be published. They look very different to what you're used to. For poll cards going into the polling station, they will now be enveloped, and it will be like an A4 sheet of paper, and it will, on the front of it, it will give details about the polling station, the usual poll card information. So the polling station, the times of opening of the polling stations, but it will mention voter ID on the front, and on the back is basically that. Yeah. So that's going out in all on all poll cards. For postal, you don't need voter ID. So if somebody is bringing a postal pack, completed pack, into the polling station, they don't need ID for that. So it's purely for people who are actually going to cast their ballot paper at the polling station. So yeah, so there's going to be that. I understand there's movement in putting something with the council tax bills as well, just a mention of that. And we're looking at different ways on reaching smaller groups of people and trying to get leaflets out to them as well. I've had a meeting with some our communities team and some of the hard to reach groups. The couple of weeks ago now. So we're going to get some posters out to them as well, just to try and get the message across. So we're doing everything we can. And the national campaign by the Electoral Commission is going to step up as well, the closer it gets to the election. And our social media will also reflect that as well.
Alistair. Sorry, Alan.
Got it. Just a query. The ethnic minority just struck me now. How would they go on, like with the voting system? The ethnic minority in the locality, you know what I mean? I don't know if they vote or do they vote or do they don't not vote, you know? They must have a vote or something, you know. How do they go about it now, like? They cover over the face, don't they?
Yeah, as well as the voter ID, another thing that's come in is accessibility in polling stations. So it's looking at people with disabilities, all sorts of disabilities, both obvious and hidden disabilities, and how we can improve the situation. And obviously, when we look at, when the government were looking at voter ID, they had to consider ladies who have facial coverings for religious purposes, or even that there could be somebody who has a medical emergency that has had the face covered. What we're introducing in all our polling stations is a privacy screen. So it's going to be set up so that if somebody wants to have their ID checked in private, they can have this screen and they can remove the face covering and then put it back on, because we're going to have mirrors as well, so that they're going to be able to do that. Now, nobody needs to give a reason why they want their ID to be checked in private. Everybody's entitled to it if that's what they want, and they don't need to reason for it. So that's what we're planning for the privacy screens. Obviously, depending on the person, they might think that that's not sufficient, and they want the face cover being shown more privately. And we've told the polling station staff how they can sort that out. It could be that they go into a side room if they needed to, or even ask everybody in the polling station to leave. That's also one of the things that the Electoral Commission has recommended. So we're saying that as well. Now, in regards to actually showing your face to a female, we're trying to get a female member of staff in all polling stations if we can. But it all depends on who's volunteering to do it, so we can't guarantee that there will be. But what we have got, we've also got 3 female polling station inspectors. So if somebody comes and wants to be checked and there's not a female in that building, they can ring the polling station inspector, who will come and check the ID for them. So we're not going to turn anybody away. Nobody needs to explain themselves. And we'll do it. It may be that somebody might have to wait a short time or come back at an appointed time, but we'll do our very best to make sure that everybody comes and goes at that polling station as freely and as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much for the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just before I go to Alistair, they would be allowed chaperone if they wanted, wouldn't they?
Companions are permitted in the polling stations, but they would have to fill it in a sheet. And I'm not sure that that's really usually directed at people who have a disability. So I don't know whether it would apply for people on religious grounds. I can check that out and find out for you.
Thank you. Alistair.
Yeah, 2 things on that. One is that is the same as a passport control. So passport control can make you remove face coverings, and they have that ability to have privacy screens and all that there, don't they? Again, because a lot of them work on facial recognition now, that you stand in front of a camera, and I've witnessed that myself in Manchester Airport, where they've said, you've got to take it off, and if you want to, you put the screens around you. Just in terms of Catherine's information, really, information from Catherine, we were advised the take-up of these cards was very low recently, so we are expecting a bit of a rush towards the end because people will realise they've got no valid ID at some point, and it'll probably be about 2 days before the election because that's when people will think about it. So we're expecting a bit of a rush at the end, so that's why we're trying to get some of this information out now. But the numbers so far requested is very low. What we're also finding are people are asking for voter ID, some of whom have postal votes, so they don't even need it, and some of whom are already already registered to vote or not registered to vote. So there's a bit of confusion out there around the whole system. And that's why we're trying to get out the message really on that. So it's a very confused picture for people.
Thank you. Are there any further questions for Catherine? Thank you very much, Catherine. If you want to leave, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. I'll leave these here. Please take them, and if you need any more, let me know, and I can get some out to your parishes for you. You can take as many as you want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina Khan's got a hand up.
Sina.
Hi, Gordon. I just want to ask what if of those people or communities whose English is not the first language is ready to available in other languages, or can they request any?
Through you, Chair, because Catherine's just walked out. Yes, there has been stuff done, Hasina, and that's part of what Catherine referred to about more difficult to reach communities. We've identified that this take-up will be different in different communities, so we are doing additional work in areas, like you said, with people with English isn't their first language. We're doing this in areas where there's probably more transient population, some of the areas where there's older populations who may not have as many ID cards as others. So we're trying to hit different sectors because by geography and by the composition of the communities. But again, if you've got any ideas about how we can do that, whether it's via the mosques or via other community organisations, that'd be helpful.
Thank you very much, Alistair.
Thank you, Alistair. Moving on with an item requested by Preston Parish Council, but I think it's a fairly comprehensive letter from Highways, which details out the reasoning. I think they wanted speed cameras, and it details out the reasoning. But as I say, it has been brought up and answered pretty thoroughly. I see you. Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
Have you
Yes,
seen
I'm
the
from
reply?
Preston Parish Council. This concern was raised really by with the Parish Council by a parent, a resident, who has 3 young children who want to walk to school, which we obviously want to encourage, particularly with issues around parking around school. Where they live on Flag Lane in Bretherton, there is a blind corner for both drivers and pedestrians. There's no pavement there, so they cannot actually get away from the junction to actually see around the corner. And we were very dissatisfied with the response we got, really, because we didn't think we were asking for a lot to have perhaps a bit of a pavement put there so that they could put distance between themselves and the junction so that they, had better clearance. And this week, my husband was nearly run over on that particular bend as well. So it's not just, the safety of children we're concerned about. It is a particularly bad corner. It doesn't matter which end of this loop you come out of. There's no pavement at all. Really?
I mean, what we can do, Coral, we could write to Rupert Swarbrick, isn't it, who's the cabinet member, is that right, Kim? That we're not happy with the reply, and see if we get a response back from him. I see this is from Emma Lane, and I notice Julia's here and Kim's here, both county councillors.
Is it with Keith as well?
Keith as well. Oh yes, of course. County Councillor Hidden is he's been cabinet member as well as County Councillor Hidden. So yes, I would also probably address it with County Councillor Hidden as well, because yeah, he's your county councillor, and as I say, he's been the cabinet member for Highways as well.
But would it have more weight coming from you rather than us? Because we seem to be a very tiny little, parish council right on the end of Chorley.
Certainly, Coral.
Sorry, we have extended the invite to County Councillor Swarbrick and previous cabinet members for Highways to this meeting, and unfortunately we're not actually getting a really good response from them. So I can try, I'll try and speak to them again, but I really am hitting a brick wall with this. I'm really struggling to get them to come, I'm afraid. It's not for lack of trying. I must send an email to them quite frequently. They're probably getting sick of seeing my name, but we really are struggling. But I will try my hardest to get a response.
Thank you very much.
I'll just say, I really would be getting on to Keith. I mean, Keith Hidden is going to be is your county council, and he's going to be the chairman of the county council in a few months. So the thing is, he should be raising the issues that are in his county council division. He might not be aware of it. I don't know. Can't speak for him, but because you need to be feeding those issues into him. Maybe invite him to some of your meetings and stuff. I know he gets invites to these meetings, but we don't see him. But perhaps invite him to some of your meetings, because the thing is, he has the contacts as well, having been the previous cabinet member, so he might not have the sort of cabinet member influence at present, but he does have, and he's in the controlling party as well, so,
Right, thank you.
Julie.
Yeah, I would write back to Rupert. Unfortunately, he might not remember that quite recently he was taking part in a task group related to children and road safety. Chorley and West Lancs are the third worst in the whole country for accidents with children, and it's obviously very worrying that it's a route to school. So he needs reminding of that. And I'd also write to Andy Pratt, the Deputy Crime Commissioner, because he was part of it. He was asked to come and give evidence at the task group, which was held at County Council, and his role is redoing the policies around road safety partnerships. So I'd get right back in touch with them. And your district councillors in your area too should all be supporting you.
Thank you, Julie. Alistair, did you want to come
I
in
was
on
going to
this?
agree with that last point. The three district councillors, one of whom's Keith Hidden, so he's got two hats on. Now, all three of your district councillors, this is just another route to a solution here, have community grants that they can put forward. If the residents of the bungalow are happy to have a mirror installed on the tree, it doesn't have to comply with anything to do with county council or the police. If they put a mirror on their tree that assists residents in that area, what's the problem? So if they're prepared to do it and you're happy to pay for it, or the county councillor gives you a grant for 300 quid, which is what Borough Council, gives you a grant for 300 quid, which I'd be doing in that area, then that's a solution for a problem that doesn't have to involve the police, the highways, or anybody else, because the risk they're bothered about is setting a precedent to do it everywhere else as well. So there's a solution there.
We were told, though, we had a further reply after this, that they would be liable if it was on their land.
Nonsense. They're only liable for somebody relying on that, and somebody would only have to, that you'd have a big sign that says, this is not to be relied upon, this is to help you only. That's better than somebody being run over, in my view. This is where it just goes nonsensical. Yes. So I'm looking to Jennifer here. There's no liability, particularly if a sign up that says this mirrors are for our own benefit, use it if you want to, kind of thing. There is no liability, anything will be transferred that way. Not at all. It would have to be done by statutory authorities to have any liability.
I think we'd need to check on that. Yeah, it's something we could check on with our legal team.
Could I just say their policy is not to support mirrors at all, mainly because I think it gives people a false sense of security about distance. But
the policy is to do nothing, Julia. That's the policy. Let's call it out for what it is. The policy is to do nothing. We do minimal stuff in Bretherton ourselves, so I personally would be happy to support doing something in that area that improve things. And that's the reality. People hide behind, we can't do this because we could do that, we can't do this because we do that. That's just hiding from the problem. When somebody gets run over, those people should be held responsible for their situation because they're failing to do something. There's a practical solution, to my mind, just there. So why not? Let's do it. why not let's find out? Because it's not fair that the householder, but that's a sensible solution to an existing problem.
Terry, did you want to add something?
Yes, I think the key thing is to be annoying to the county council. The more you get on the back, the more they do things. The A674 in Wealton. It took us 5 years to get something done. What I would suggest is parish council mobilise residents and have a campaign. We'll back anything that makes things safer.
Thank you, Terry. Go on, Aaron.
They need to be called out. And if someone thinks that they can't measure the depth of field in a mirror when they use them every day to put the lipstick on, using the cars, then they shouldn't be driving. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Anybody in there? Anything else?
Bretherton is littered with mirrors put up by farmers so they can pull out of fields and their own farmyards to assist them not killing people. So why the heck can the parish council not do something that assists children and pedestrians doing exactly the same thing? Because nobody's going around taking those farmers' mirrors off and thinking, thank goodness, because otherwise there'd be a motorbike buried under them every Sunday. So it's about common sense. This is basically saying, not our problem, we're not going to do anything about it, which is why you need to go on to your borough councillors and your county councillor, who collectively need to do something about it. But we're happy to support them, Chair, in my view.
Thank you, Alistair. John, did you want to add something?
This is completely different. You know the flashing lights that you have to say outside of schools, 20 mile an hour when these lights are flashing. The ones outside the one which I'm governor of at Buckshaw, it's been about 5 months now. We keep reporting these things through, saying, and the first excuse was, oh, we're getting a different supplier, you'll have to wait. And I said, well, we wait until a child gets knocked down. And it's a lack of response from county for things like this, where you're talking about a child's safety, which really concerns me. It shouldn't be the school having to do it. I'm not sure it should be the parish council. I'm not sure it should be me as the governor doing it. But you get blanks from County Hall. Nothing.
Right, we'll move on, but I have to say myself, where I ask things for particular highways, I can almost write the response before I get it.
Copy and paste.
Yeah. I know what's coming. I think in a week's time, this is exactly what I'm going to get. And very rarely am I surprised. We'll move on now, if everybody's happy with that. We've got an item requested by East Charnock Parish Council. I think this has partially been dealt with, hasn't it? Do you know something about this, Kim?
I think Graham might want to add a couple of things, but my understanding is the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner visited the Parish Council last week, and he's going to arrange a site visit to pursue things further and try and get it further up the priority list. So I don't know if I don't think there's much more to add, is there? Unless Graham's got something.
Just to put the people sat round these tables in the picture, this has happened basically over the last 12 months. Now, United Utilities, are reporting 27, which I know it's a bit high, 27 vehicles going through fences or demolishing walls. Now, the residents of Nickleton Brow, the poor lady who came to our meeting last Thursday, they've come down the hill and completely took like a 16, 18-inch square gate pillar out. And these vehicles aren't going slow. One's come down Horrobin Lane as just before he got to the reservoirs in a BMW, and he's hit a parked car, punched it out the way, then gone through thick end of a 16, 18-inch wall, left his mate on the back seat and cleared off. Kim knows where that is. Now, there's other holes in the wall in Orabin Lane and the viewing point. And where this is coming from, and we've asked the police to look, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, they're going to the viewpoint at the top of the quarries. And I go up there, I go shopping, take the missus. I've got to say that, otherwise you'll be thinking, what am I doing up there? But I take the missus. And one day there was 10 nitrous oxide cans, Diamond Cream, 650 gram cans. Now these aren't little things for lighters. These are blooming big things. Another time I saw an empty box of 12 carton box. They'd all been used. And I'm told it's a propellant to do something with cream in confectionery. I don't know what it does. It propels the cream. Anyhow, yeah. So, I mean, I saw one lad in Bolton on New Year's Eve, and they're putting it into balloons when you get the small ones, and he's there with it over his nose and in his mouth, sucking it in. Now, the thing is, I'm told the big ones, they let it off in the car, so everybody gets a dose. Now, this only lasts, according to the police, for about 10 minutes. It's not like drink, but they can pick it up the day after. And what I think they do is, I've been told what they do is, they have a pre-designated route where they try and get round the fastest. Now, there's one wall near the waterfall that they went through, and they'd gone through over and over again. They repaired it, and just to put you in the picture, another lad went through and found him 30 foot down, still in his car, in a tree. Now, I wrote, after the meeting, when is it Inspector Moyes came here? Was it? Yeah. I wrote a letter, it was to our clerk, and I wrote a letter to our clerk, hang on a minute, it's here, it's basically saying, it's here, I just go through this in a bit. Just a brief note to keep you informed. I attended the Rivington and Brinscall Advisory Group. It was open for discussion. And you cannot keep up with the number of cars going through walls and fences, and in most cases it is not ice but drug driving. To make a point, the wall in Knowsley Lane has, in the last week, been rebuilt, only for it to be partially demolished this weekend. A car was in the reservoir at the bottom of the viewpoint, and it was in about 3 foot of water. So, it's not ice. The main cause of the problem is drug use, and this being nitrous oxide in half-litre cans. The driver takes to the road, I am told, on a pre-planned circuit to see who is the fastest, and the rest is history, and can be seen by everyone. This is a police matter and not HCP, East China Parish Council, because these people who came wanted us to report it because they were frightened of reprisals. So we get the brick through the window. So, as I said, I found the 10 nitrous oxide cans. But the thing is, last week, the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner came, and he said, after the residents had asked him, he said he's going to arrange a meeting with the residents, the Heath Charnock Parish Council, and know what's going on. Now, I just don't know what else they can do. And I said to him, well, the only way I feel you can stop it, and this is where mobile phones is going to kibosh this, is to have 2 policemen on motorbikes at preset places. One said, well, there's one set off now, and one catching him at the other end. But it won't take an apex of difference to say somebody phones up, hey, police are here. But it is a problem. And the people on Nickleton Brow are now frightened of going out of the houses at night in case they get swept off the footpath. The other week at the waterfall that spills out to Yarrow Reservoir, this car came round the corner and hit another car head on. So it is a problem. Now, I can report back when the Police and Crime Commission has been to Heath Charnock, but I don't think, other than Chorley Council notifying the police, we can do much more. It is an ongoing situation, and they well know about it now.
I think Wednesday what happens with Andy Pratt with the site visit, Graham, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just
back.
unfortunate. Sorry, Chair. It's just unfortunate that this has come out on this paper, and Andy Pratt came last week. But it is a problem.
I appreciate it's a problem, but as I say, till Andy's been, see what he can come up with, and take it from there. That's all we can do. Yes, Alistair. Sorry, Jennifer, go on.
I was just going to say we can take this to the Community Safety Partnership as well. So the Road Safety Partnership has a representative on our Community Safety Partnership, so I'll take there as well to see what they can do, if they can do a campaign, work with the police, maybe do some fixed party notices, speeding checks, using their mobile cameras.
Thank you, Jennifer. Alistair, did you want to come back with something?
Go on, Graham, first.
What Andrew Pratt said was that to take the registrations and don't let them see you take the camera, and if you smell weed, because at Rivington and Brinskull this lady came and she was complaining most bitterly about smelling weed, and he said, well, take the photograph, report the registration, and if it is that happens, they'll log it on the AMPR database that it is a car that deals in weed, smells of weed, this, that, other. And when it goes past a police car, a motorbike, whatever, and it pings, they know then that they're up to no good. Now, that's what he said, and that's what they could do.
Thank you, Graham. Did
Support
you want
that,
to come back
yeah,
with
the
anything?
Pigeon Tower car park is notorious. If you go on there, it does smell of weed quite strongly.
Yeah, it does.
They all go and smoke up there, so that's quite a regular haunt for them. I did raise it, as I said to Graham before the meeting, at the Police and Crime panel, because Andy Pratt was doing a report on wider road safety, and it was brought up from other areas, so it's not unique to Chorley. It's happening in Rossendale and other areas as well of Lancashire, because that was being reported, so it's consistent, same kind of issues. So I think the police are starting to get a plan of how they deal with this. It's difficult because it's a certain segment of society and it's something they can't test for fully. So there's two things. One is the speeding traffic, which is a straightforward police matter. The second then is this nitrous oxide complication. But I think there needs to be a focus in that area. You've got Andy Pratt on board. He's trying to take it up with the police themselves, because obviously police traffic, it has resource limitations, to get that as an area of focus. So I'd keep pursuing it, and again, happy as a council to support that, because it is a particular problem in our area and certain other boroughs.
It's John.
I recall reading about 6 weeks ago that there was going to be new legislation about the supply of nitrous oxide in the larger cans. That you would have to be registered to actually get hold of this. Now, this is a substance which I've used it when I had a rotator cuff tear, and they said, do you want gas and air? And I said, yes, please. It was amazing. I was flying over Astley Village in my mind. It works very, very well. And I tried to get hold of some because I was in so much pain when I got back from A&E. Can get me some. No, I was sick of having cocodamol and think, oh. And that's another thing, cocodamol. Do a litter pick through Astley Village and you will come across blister packs of which have had 10, 15 cocodamol or laxative tablets, and we found 15 in one place. Why? Because they contain codeine. I went across to Tesco, I said, what's the age that you can buy these? And it was 14. And they have a high percentage of paracetamol. They're going to damage their livers. It's not the codeine that's going to do the harm. It's not the nitrous oxide. It's what they do when they've taken it. And nitrous oxide, if you go back to Dickensian days, the well-to-do would have nitrous oxide parties. They would sit there, they would pass it round, because it actually works off in it's less than a couple of minutes, about 30 seconds. So you get a high, you're left, and you're okay. So it is a problem, but I do believe there is some legislation about the larger cans. You have to be registered to obtain them.
Well, in 1800s, they did in a car. They might have done that. Yeah, you have to get the horses sniff, gallop a bit faster.
Thank you.
But
yeah.
It is a problem, Chair. It really is. Somebody to, I don't know, I don't like saying this, but I think somebody might just get killed here.
Well, yeah, I think, see how we go on with Andy Pratt, and we'll take it from there, Graham.
And I'll let you know.
Yeah, but let Jennifer know, because obviously, yeah. Yes, Ian?
Just say that two things. One is about, Alice just mentioned that speeding is a police responsibility. Have you come across this Lancashire Talking in the website? That's a police initiative. It says in there that if your complaint is about speeding, refer it to the Lancashire County Council Partnership. If you refer it to the county partnership, they'll tell you that speeding is a policing matter, and you end up with unresolved. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I mean, I'm not going to make any judgment on Andy Pratt, but he did give a presentation at last year's conference at LCC, which he talked about road safety issues, including the sort of things you've been talking about, Graham. But the two words he never mentioned in any of that was enforcement and regulation. It was everything else was a problem, like the design of the road, the driving standards, vehicle design, but he would not mention policing as such.
Good point, Ian. I was there as well. Right, moving on. Question from members of Liaison and the public. We know public, but has anybody any questions? Now, just an item that has just been brought in to me from Alan at Chorley Richard, and just to read it very briefly, I think you've seen it, haven't you, Jennifer? I've been contacted by a local resident about the upgrade of Chorley Little Theatre. At the rear of the hall, an extra seat has been put in partly blocking the exit. Can someone from the council have a look at the problem? Yours sincerely. Thank you, Alan. Yeah.
Yes, we can get our environmental health team to go and have a look.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if that's causing an obstruction, obviously we can do something. Thank you. So that's one question. Are there any other questions? Ian?
Sorry again, another question, but I wanted to just ask about the town centre, and what seems to be an increasing problem is the number of cyclists who go speeding through the town centre in the pedestrianised area, which I think is causing a problem and a bit of a danger. And I just wondered if any of the council officers, the whatever they're called, the ambassadors, are they patrol, the people who patrol, or the police are aware of that.
Thank you, Ian.
They and we are well aware of it. I was looking at Jennifer, but she's writing, so but yeah, we are well aware of it, and it's not, if you like, normal cyclists in the best possible way. It's not people going to and from work or people, going to Rivington on the mountain bikes. It is youths on mountain bikes who tend to go around on one wheel. That's their favourite way of doing it, with one wheel in the air, dressed all in black and with hoodies on. They are part of a wider antisocial behaviour issue we've got in the town centre at the moment. We are aware of them. We are trying to take steps, particularly in areas we own, like Market Walk, Precinct, to do that. It tends to be evenings and weekends, because that's when they're about and they're not in school or whatever. Action can be taken, particularly if they're on our premises. It's easier than on the public highway, actually, because then it is we can enforce. And now, if you look at now, our town centre ambassadors and the police all wear body cameras, so they can record the people doing it. So there's evidence, that's an evidential base, as is the CCTV. The problem on CCTV is if they're all in black with hoodies up, it's not easy to recognise who's on the bike. So, as I'm aware of it, I think one or two have actually been chucked in the back of a police van with their bikes and whatever else. And I did bizarrely hear about someone, not in our town, but another town, who was doing it on a unicycle, so it was really interesting. But it was quite impressive, really, but there you go. But yes, it is a public hazard as well as being, it's an offence on the highway, because it's dangerous cycling, I think, isn't it? So you can actually be prosecuted for it, but it's part of a wider symptom of wider groupings. Do you want to add to that, Jennifer?
Yeah, so we have had issues. So the police have, and our community safety team have been approaching those individuals who've been cycling erratically and in pedestrianised areas. If they're refusing to give the name, they're going to be put in the back of a van. If they still don't give the name, they're going to be taken to the police station. Once they do give the name, they're going to be taken back home. The parents are going to be spoken to, and our team are going to do, in our community safety team, are going to do home visits. So we've got 6 of them at the moment that we're doing, arranging home visits over the next couple of weeks. So we are taking it very seriously, and the antisocial behaviour in the town centre. We don't want to go down the enforcement route, but we can look to do enforcement. So it involves acceptable behaviour contracts with them as this first stage of enforcement, and then looking at criminal behaviour orders. Again, that's a last resort, but we can, we have done that for one individual in the town centre. But we are hopefully working with parents to take this seriously, and looking at acceptable behaviour contracts with parents and their children.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, Aaron, go on.
Unfortunately, it's not limited to youths. I take naughty kids to school, and I came across an adult on an electric scooter in the middle of the road with his daughter on the front, taking her to school. What do? Do I pip me on so he falls off and she gets injured? So it's not just youths.
And I think that's a good point, actually, Aaron. The electric bikes as such can get up to 30 or 40 mile an hour. You know, they can go a lot faster than a push bike can, the standard push bike. Right, items for a future meeting. It doesn't have to be done now. If you can just forward anything on to Coral. I mean, if anybody has got any suggestions here and now, we can take them, and Coral can have a look to see if she can arrange anything. But basically, just email them to Coral, and we'll see if we can... Oh, Terry, sorry, I didn't see you.
Can we have a discussion sometime on sporting provision in the parishes?
Sporting. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not, Terry. You got that, Coral? Yeah. No, I don't see any reason why not. Coral's noted it, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're on to the last item. Any urgent business previously agreed with the chair? I haven't had any. I raised the one that Alan did, so in another part of the meeting, so that's fine. So thank you very much for your attendance, and obviously on here we have the dates of the next meetings, which I think, where is the next one? Oh, there. The next one is the 19th of July, and the deadline for getting any requests in is the 7th. So thank you very much for your attendance, and safe journey home.